Thank you for joining us for our BNI San Diego podcast. As you can see, I've got one of our regulars, Alex Terranova of Alex Terranova Coaching. Alex, it's always a pleasure to see you, my friend. How are things going?
Things are good. I you call me a regular. I'm like, should we have a beer? Should we have like a beer or a little rocks glass or something with us? It's
That's
just
it,
like the
right?
coffee. Is the coffee okay? You know what?
It's like going into Star. There you go. Going into
Yeah.
Starbucks, grabbing your drink. Let's sit down and have just a good conversation.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of having regular conversations that have meaning behind them. It's not a waste of time. It's actually a value, right? And our topic today, and we're still kind of working on the title, but what we had talked about is the war against time, right? Our battle with our time throughout our day, whether we call it time management or whatever that term means to you. We hear from a lot of people, whether it's going from the coaching side or joining something or whatever it is in our lives. We always hear, "Oh, I just don't have enough time. I'm too busy." That's
Yeah.
like the white noise anymore. I'm too busy. Or I'm the other one that you hear a lot is I'm so busy.
Yeah. You said, well, I think saying I wrote actually an article or an essay. You can find it on my blog or somewhere. I know it was published in, I think, the Good Men Project published it also. It's called Busy is Basic,
Hmm.
because you're not special. We're all busy. It's
Everybody.
actually it's the most ordinary, boring thing. We're all busy. We get it. Nobody cares. Nobody actually cares. And you're probably kind of a liar. Because and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like I say, it's like a condition of we're conditioned in our speech that we just say we're so busy.
It's a mindset almost.
But I know, like, and I know we kind of talked about this. Like, I watch Netflix, I watch shows on Apple, I'm scrolling on my phone. I check my email way more times than I need to be checking it. So I'm busy because I'm doing all those things, but I'm not actually that. Like, if I stripped one of those away or two of them away, if there was something important I wanted to do, there is time for it, right? If suddenly I had a kid or two kids, some of those things would have to go away because I'd have to put my attention on something. But I think a lot of us have that choice, and we say that default, like I'm too busy, or I'm like, and hey, there are moments, right? There are moments where we do get really, really slammed, but overall, we're on our phones, checking our social media, or I think they say you check your email. The average person checks their email like 72 times a day.
Oh, I'm probably double that.
Imagine if you walked out to your mailbox 72 times during,
That's a
like,
good, actually, that's a really good visual, right? Would
yeah,
we walk out to our mailbox 72 times in
it's
a day?
insane. If I saw you, if I was your neighbor, I'd be like, that is insane. He's lost his mind, right? Like, and obviously, like, hey, the mail comes once, and that doesn't happen. But one of my favorite tactics for clients is decide in advance when you're going to check your email. So,
Ooh,
hey, when's the first moment of the day? A lot of people say, and I think agree with this, don't check your email right when you get up, because typically it's like hits us with a storm. It's like things that are on fire, things that need to be done, things that we don't need to see right away. So it's good to say, like, hey, I'm not going to look at my email till like 10 a.m. or something. It's the first time you look at it. Maybe then you don't check it till after lunch. Then maybe you check it, before you leave for the day. You leave some time to respond before you leave for the day. But and look, maybe depending on your business, there needs to be, maybe there's more coming through. But just checking it whenever you get the impulse is actually chasing dopamine. It's not actually that you need.
I honestly never thought about it that way. I am one of those individuals that my email is open all the time. And now that you put it that way, those little dings that we get from, yeah, that's exactly it. And the word busy does not equal productive.
Nothing. Yeah, they have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah. Although right? We think they do,
Yeah.
or we want them to, or we wear that word busy as a badge of honor. Like, oh, my life's so busy. I've got It's like white noise anymore.
You said something before too, and I think I wish we could put this piece to bed for once and for all. There's no time management.
Mm.
You can't manage time. It moves all on its own, right? The earth, unless you find a way to stop the earth from spinning or you create a time machine, there is no time management.
That's a
You
good
can
point.
manage yourself, you can manage your attention, you can manage your tasks, but you cannot manage time. And I think that when we relate to time as something that we can manage, we become victims to it. And then subject to what happened when we're a victim, we get to blame and be victimized. Versus if we say, how could I change my relationship to time? Right? Like maybe I'm going to be more specific about when I wake up and when I go to bed. Maybe I'm going to be more specific about how I work, when I check my emails, when I look at social media. Maybe I'm going to use time to my advantage. Like I have one of these actually sitting on my desk. I don't use it as much as I should, but one of these like little timers.
Yeah.
And you say like, hey, I'm going to set it for 45 minutes. And for 45 minutes, I'm going to have all my, nice, no distractions. I'm going to work. And at the end of 45 minutes, I get 15 minutes to do whatever I want to just, and for different people, different amounts of time. I notice it depends on what I'm working on. It matters so much too. If I'm working on something I'm really excited about, I can go 2-3 hours head down, not look at my phone. I might put music on in the background, but like not look at my phone, not look at anything. And then all of a sudden I'll look up and I'll be like, whoa, and I'll have a moment. I'll take a break and check and I'll dive back in. I notice when I'm checking my emails, looking at my phone, being distracted, getting up, moving or whatever, there's usually something else going on.
I love that. I love how you put that, right? When we engulf ourselves in something, when it's a project we're excited about, when it's that new client, whatever it is, that excitement, you can literally work. And I've done it where I've worked right through lunch and I'm like a couple hours and it's like, whoa, where did the time go?
Yeah. So we even do this with, I think in the world we live in now, how many of us are watching a show with our phone in our hand, looking at another thing, right? We can't, because we actually, there's a part of me that's like, what are we doing? Pick something, right? Like we either want to watch the show or we don't want to watch the show. And it's fine. There's no, I do it. There's no judgment here, but I think we keep conditioning ourselves to not give our attention to anything. And
why do you think that is? That's a really good point.
I mean, I think it's, we could go down a big rabbit hole here of essentially, I think there's some layer of, specifically in America, a capitalist economy, it's all about buying, right? Yeah. Everything's about buying. Well, why do we buy things? Because we either need them or we're convinced that we need them. We actually do or we think we do, right? And if if we got screens in front of us and we're like, we're not thin enough, we're not rich enough, we don't have a nice enough car. I think like this inundation with stuff and things has sort of, given us all ADHD, right? Get short and we are, we're like chasing dopamine hits, right? Like dopamine is supposed to be a chemical hormone in us that drives us to do something. Dopamine would have us go seek out a partner. Dopamine would have us go hunting and would make us feel good when we captured something, which would encourage us to do it more. Mm. But now you open your email and you get a ding and you're like, ooh, you got like a little shot of dopamine. But there's a lot of conversations, I'm not the expert on this, about how most of us are in essentially a deficit because we're chasing it all the time. We're essentially addicts. And because we're in a deficit, we're chasing like little hits to get us kind of back, but it does the opposite. It's sending us more into deficit. How
do you balance, or maybe the better word is manage that, right? Because we have a lot of stuff getting thrown at us every day. And we're active, doesn't necessarily mean we're busy. We're active in whatever it is we're doing. When you're working with a client, and I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been working and I look back at the day and go, what did I accomplish?
Yeah.
So how do you stop the wheel from getting off that, that mouse wheel or whatever the term is?
Hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Uh, we gotta slow down, I think, first. And I think so for me, it's making sure that I start every day slow. So it's easy to get out of bed and like we're in a fire department, right? And just run and slide down the pole and run off into the thing, which right, get in the shower, get ready, check our email, check our social media, turn on the news, whatever people are doing, rush our kids to school. My biggest advice for people is, especially people that have kids, especially young kids, right? If you wake up into your life, you wake up into a storm. So I think you got to beat your life. You have to beat it. You have to arrive before it. When I say like get there before your life. So that means if, hey, people in your household wake up at 6, wake up at 5:30, wake up at 5, whatever, but beat them up. Not beat them up, beat them to waking up. And do something to ground and settle yourself. So for me, it's between 10 and 30 minutes of meditation in the morning. I go down, I have an in-home office. I go down to my office, I put on some light music, I sit, I light a candle, I sit and I meditate for 10 to 30 minutes almost every single day, including before BNI. Even on those early days, I have time, I make time for that. And I think of it as it's like brushing my teeth, but for my mind. I'm like slowing myself down, getting what's my intention for the day. I'm breathing, I'm calming myself. Then I can step into the day and I'm ready for it. I'm ready for whatever comes to me. And I think that approach, and if you can do it more often, and if you could do that 2 or 3 times during the day, could be for 2 minutes, middle of the day. You take a moment to stand up, ground, breathe. You sit in your chair, you take some deep breaths. Could be for 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but to simply slow down and breathe. Our nervous systems are so locked up because we're all breathing so short. So like more deep breaths. I don't know if you've ever done box breathing.
No, I actually, I just learned the term. I'm doing an amazing program right now with one of our BNI members, Dr. Brent Keim, called Empowered Health. And one of the things he talks about is just every once in a while, just take a break, go out the door,
Yeah.
take your socks and shoes off, and stand in the grass.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Ground yourself.
Yeah, just ground and just breathe. Sometimes I lean up against a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, and bring it all down, calm it down. And I think maybe is it us thinking is it me thinking I'm more important than I am, I mean, now that I think about it, just having time to step away is so incredibly important.
Yeah.
Because when we're nonstop working and we're working out of exhaustion, we're actually not accomplishing anything.
I think we're just conditioned. If you think, if we go back in time, the Industrial Revolution, right? If we were farmers, we can take our time. No, we got to work really hard, but we can't make the plants grow any faster than they grow, right? We do what we do and we wait. Industrial Revolution happens, and now we all come to work at factories. And if you're the factory owner and I'm the guy putting the widget, on the belts, right, or putting the one screw in the thing before, right? It's all about speed and productivity. We don't care about anything else. It's just like how can I get Alex to do more widgets faster? So there was and how long did that last, right? That period of time, it's the more modern and it's our more recent past, but we've conditioned ourselves, right? The generations of the Great Depression, World War II, after that, were all about hard work and productivity and more hours because it made sense inside of that. We got brainwashed to a degree, right? Well, now we don't live in that world anymore. We're not, unless you're making widgets on like doing factory work. Most of us are not doing that, but we're still relating to ourselves as that. We feel guilty if we aren't working a certain amount of hours in the day, or if we take time off, especially if we're small business owners or entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I think we have to decondition ourselves, going outside, like you said, breathing.
So how do we do that? How do we intentionally make an effort to get out of our own busyness and step back? Because it's hard. Like you said, it's a what's the word you used? Not habit, but
Condition.
Yeah, right. We conditioned ourselves.
Yeah.
How do we get out of that? How do we get out of that rhythm?
Yeah. So we have to break patterns.
Okay.
So how do we break habits or patterns? First, we have to be aware of them. So any habit or pattern, right? If I pick at my nails, if I chew on a pen, right? Whatever it is, I have to have a moment where I go, oh, I'm chewing on that pen. I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So first it's creating awareness. Then it's often stopping ourselves and often maybe doing something else, substituting, right? A lot of cigarette smokers will go to gum or right, that's something else. But I think the other thing we have to identify, which a lot of people don't talk about, is what was that thing giving us emotionally, somatically? So if I am sitting at my desk doing my work and I'm working on, and I keep stopping to look at my phone, that's the habit, right? Your phone tells you how often you look at it. If you want to venture down that road, I could say, okay, wait, I'm going to notice, I'm going to stop doing it. I'm going to put it down, I'm going to refocus on work. But why am I doing it? Maybe I really don't like the thing I'm working on. Maybe I'm really unhappy and this is my way of escaping. Maybe I'm afraid that I'm not good at what I'm doing and this is the way of getting away from it. Maybe I'm afraid, if I'm in sales, maybe I'm afraid to get rejected, so I'm making less calls and this is how I'm avoiding that. But what are you getting emotionally from that habit or behavior that, right? If you think about when, I have a habit, I pick at my nails. It's like I'll like sit and I notice, it's energy. It's energy that I'm not dissipating in other things. Why do little kids suck their thumbs? For comfort, right? We check our phones because we can't sit with ourselves, a lot of us.
Oh yeah. I mean, even at the grocery store and you're in line or you're in line anywhere, you just standing there like, I got to be doing something. So let me check my phone.
Yeah. So I would ask that question and then you could address that thing. Oh God, I'm supposed to be writing this proposal. I think I'm doing a really bad job at it. I'm not great at writing proposals. So I'm like sort of sabotaging myself and avoiding it. Okay. Maybe there's someone I could call that could help me write a proposal, right? Maybe there's a way I could say, you know what? I'm going to just write this. I'm going to give it my best shot. And then I'm going to ask somebody for help. Or I'm just going to relate to it as practice. And the only way I can get good at anything is to be bad at it for a while first. But actually addressing that emotional thing. Or, hey, I'm feeling anxiety. What would help me settle myself or calm myself down? Maybe it's breathing, maybe it's going outside. Maybe kind of address that thing. Because even the habit we have isn't addressing it. It's just tiptoeing around it. But it doesn't actually shift it or change it. I have one more thing for you around this, which is I don't think most of us have a plan.
Wow.
So are you a football fan? You like football?
Somewhat, yeah.
So I think most football fans know this, but if they don't, it's fine. Most football teams come into a football game with a script of anywhere from 5 to 40 plays. Which means if you're not a football person, you're not a football fan, what that means is they show up to the coach shows up to the game and the team shows up to the game knowing exactly what they're going to do for a certain amount of times. They're going to throw the ball, they're going to pass it, they're going to do it just like this. And it doesn't mean that they don't adapt based on how it's going, but they have a general, this is our plan of attack, basically. And a good team adapts quickly to the environment and shifts and changes in the game. And a good team also comes in with a really good plan. Almost none of us show up to have a plan for our game, which is our life or each day of our life.
That's a good point.
So most of us wake up and we open our email or we get hit with the kids stuff. We walk into the office and people are telling us stuff and we're just engulfed in the drama, basically. And so we have to attend to whatever fires are popping up. Versus what I like to do is, hey, create that game plan for yourself for the day, the night before. So if it's a Sunday, create your game plan for Monday on Sunday, which simple. My game plans are 3 to 5 things I want to accomplish that day. That's it. 3 to 5 things. If it gets more than that, you're gonna probably do the easiest ones that are not important. But the 3 to 5 most important things that if I did those things, I would consider my day a win. So not busy work, not emails, right? What are those 3 to 5 things? And then at the end of Monday, take stock. How did I do with my 3 to 5 things? Were they actually as important as I thought they were? Sometimes they're, and then do the same thing. And it can get a little more detailed, but that's the simplest to me. Is can you create that plan? And then when you get to work, can you go to those 3 to 5 things first before you do all that other stuff?
Yeah, work on the big rocks, right? Before, I mean, I love that imagery of the professor at the front of the room with, the sand, the rocks, the water, all, and putting those things in the jar. And so often I know I start with the water and then the sand. And because as you said, and I love the imagery that you used of the firefighter, right? They're woken up by an alarm, which means something's going on, and they're putting up their trousers, sliding down the pole, and getting to work. And we do that. I do that all the time. Instead of taking control of my day, spending some time in meditation, or not medication, meditation. That's a different thing. Meditation and really preparing myself for the day, and so I can focus on the right things. Wow.
And it's funny because we, at some point in our lives, we did a lot of these things. We, as a child, or if you have a child and you're a parent who is, let's say, active in your child's education and life, you probably know what's coming up for your kids. Mm-hmm. Their games, their tests, their things, right? I want to be clear. It doesn't mean you're a bad parent if you don't. It's just, hey, maybe you have other burdens or responsibilities. But I bet most parents, if they were able to, would want to have that, support their kids in that way. And I remember being a kid, and my dad was more on the sports stuff. Hey, we got a game, my mom was more on the school stuff. But and I'm talking about little, right? Like elementary school. And my mom would be like, hey, you have a spelling test on Friday. We need to be preparing for that. Or you have this thing coming up. We need to prepare for that. Or you're making your kids lunches or their breakfast, and there's preparation for that, right? Even the preparation of going to the store and making sure you have the food so you can make your kids lunch. We put our kids to bed at a certain time, not just for them to grow and be healthy, but so we can actually have some quiet and peace and quiet for a moment. And I think there's something that happens in the transition from childhood to teenage years where we get that autonomy and freedom. And we suddenly are like, I get to do what I want now. And there's never a moment where we go, wait, maybe some of that stuff was like kind of a good idea. Maybe having a bedtime was a good idea. Maybe having a schedule that I follow was a good idea. Maybe having a plan for the day was actually a good idea.
Getting back to those basics, yeah. Instead of staying up all night, flipping through the phone, watching TV late at night. Like you said, I love the idea of getting a scheduled bedtime. Even as an adult, we do it for our kids because we realize they need it, or they're going to be cranky in the morning or whatever it is. And yet when we look in the mirror, we're the same thing.
We need it too. I just listened to this podcast by a sleep doctor, a sleep expert, and she showed these studies where they studied NBA players, and all they did was change how much they slept. And players shooting percentages went up 9%.
Wow.
By giving them better and more sleep and better taking care of sleep. So better wind down routine, darker rooms, better temperature, eye masks, so those kind of things. 9%. Right? You're a 20% 3-point shooter. You go up to a 29%, you're now a good 3-point shooter. You go from 30 to 39, you're great. Right? It's a game changer. In terms of productivity, that we always talk about, people are like, oh, I wish I could just get 1% better. Sleep. And the reason is, right, they're better slept. So their brain works better.
Yeah.
They're more focused. Yeah. It's, and what if so many of us pride ourselves of like, oh, I can pull an all-nighter. I've only slept 4 hours and look at the work I'm doing. It's probably fine, but what if you had slept 9 or 8 hours? Maybe you would have done just as much work in half the amount of time and it would be better.
That's a drop the mic right there. Alex, it's an absolute pleasure as always. We're coming up to our end. And like we always do, from our conversation today, if we were to leave our audience with one key element, think back through our conversation, and what would that one element be? What's that key thing, that takeaway?
Stop saying you're busy. First of all, nobody cares. You're not special, but also it's not helping you. It's not serving you.
No, I like that. I'm trying to use different language on that, and the language more for myself because of the self-talk that we do.
Yeah.
Right. When we say are busy or whatever we're doing, we're actually talking to ourselves. It's not so much about telling somebody else.
Yeah. We either make time for what's important or we don't. The conversation with the guy today, and it was, hey, you either get to do things or don't do them. But don't do stuff because you have to, or you should, or you're supposed to. You either get to do it or don't do it. And busy sort of like that. Oh, I'm like so busy. So you're not choosing.
Yep.
Is that a no? Is that a yes? What, choose, go all in or choose not to.
Good point. You get to choose. Alex, It's always a pleasure.
Thanks,
Looking forward to our next conversation. I'll make sure I've got a cup of coffee as well, because we talked about that at the beginning. Right? It's always a pleasure. Looking forward to having you back with us. Thank you. And for our listeners, again, great conversation with my co-host for today, my guest speaker, my guest. It's actually Alex is turning into being more of a co-host, which I like. So thank you for joining us today. We look forward to having you back with us next week when we have another fantastic guest. Hope you enjoy your day.
This episode of the BNI San Diego podcast has been brought to you by Cruise Productions, a San Diego-based video production company and proud BNI member. You can find us at the intersection where business and creativity meet, or online at cruiseproductionsinc.com.